Stanford starting lineup brought to you by Esurance. Those guards that have been together that were considered such a focal point this season. And the Oregon starting lineup also brought to you by Esurance. Jonathan Lloyd continues to run the point in the absence of Art. They got their offensive show together in Utah, and they took it home, and they walloped the Ducks, beat them by 24. And Nate Altman today was making sure that his team understood the importance of securing this game. Randall has an open look and knocks it down.
That is a very good sign for Stanford and not a good sign for Oregon, because if you get Randall and Bright making shots, it's going to open up the inside play for Houston and Dwight Powell to go to work in there.
First thing Dana Altman said, I asked him what was his takeaway from the game at Maples. First thing he said, Randall and Bright made shots.
Yes, they did.
And they're a different team.
And I'm watching an Oregon team. Here comes that shot clock becoming a factor as it goes down. They are struggling. Cal put them in a situation where they were very, very difficult to score against Cal. And I'll tell you what, if you can hold a team to 48 points and lose, they did it twice. Colorado and Cal, that's not good.
Well, here's what's amazing about that last game was a little obscure number there in the Oregon line. Oregon had 18 baskets made in that game and 4 assists. That's all. A block here triggers a break.
They had 20 turnovers there, and that was the difference. And I'm going to tell you something about Oregon. Anytime they get a chance to get in a fast break, they got numbers. They need to take advantage of it. If they don't, they're going to allow Stanford to set up that defense that is going to clog up the middle of the floor and take away all of Oregon's drives. It's going to take away Oregon's post-ups, and it's going to make it difficult for them to score.
All right, so right away, a little bump at the post here, and Woods is called.
I don't know about that one. I'm a big guy that says you don't call flops. A guy's got to really pop you to move you like that. So,
a little precursor for the Academy Awards there as well, we think, huh? Brown lost it in the paint. Dotson back. And Dotson scores it. Powell trying his best to contest that. Damian Dotson with the finish.
One of those easy buckets I'm talking about. When they get a chance to go score in transition, they get numbers. They've got to score to get some easy baskets.
Aaron Bright looking. Aaron Bright still not shooting the way he would like, but his floor game has been much improved in February. Singler there with a shot that goes over the back.
You talk about defensive intensity. Oregon's defense has been outstanding, holding Cal to 48 points. In this game, anytime they get an opportunity to get easy buckets off of steals, they've got to not only run, but they have to convert, because Stanford's going to make it so difficult in the half court for this team to score.
Oregon's hallmark this year on scoring has been balance. They've had 6 different players lead them in scoring in a game. Nobody averaging as many as 12 points a game. Foul here on the Ducks. Waverly Austin, who got in the game quick for Oregon, commits the foul that'll put Dwight Powell at the line for Stanford.
Dwight Powell at the line. He'll shoot 2.
And I think it's important, Ernie, that we emphasize these overall numbers for Powell and what you talked about in the open, because again, so much of the focus for Stanford basketball this year was chasing Randall and Aaron Bright playing together again and being an electric backcourt. And what's happened is Dwight Powell and Josh Eustace have become an electric frontcourt.
Well, Dwight Powell in his last 7 games, he's averaged about 17 points a game. So Eustace 15. So those 2 players are so good right now, and they're playing at such a high level. Oregon's going to have to get some production out of his bigs and neutralize that inside game of Stanford.
And at the beginning of the year, we watched Stanford and you wondered, how much they were going to miss Josh Owens, who was not big, but was an interior guy, could play post basketball. And here are Powell and Eustace shining in the second half of the season.
Sometimes when you lose a great player, it gives you an opportunity for another player to become great. And that's what Dwight Powell has done. He has really come on. He's my vote for one of the most improved players in the conference.
Delivery to Austin over Powell, and he gets a foul on him.
when you get an opportunity to improve your game, Powell was a low post player. He's extended his game now that he can get into the pick and pop situation, and with no hesitation, steps up and knocks down a jump shot. When he's shooting that shot, Houston is shooting that 15, 20-footer and three-pointer. How do you guard them? And then they take you inside where their footwork is so good they can beat you off the dribble.
Now, one thing that Oregon did there, and they may try to continue, as Dotson goes out, now Carlos Emery in for Oregon, would be to go at Powell. They just picked up one foul on him. If you can pick up another.
The teams that have been effective against Stanford, they've been able to go small, use their quickness, put the press on them, make them handle the ball. But if Stanford makes you stay big, their bigs are going to be better than Oregon's bigs because they're more skilled and they can score more.
Powell, the delivery, Houston slides a bit and travels. So my question then, Ernie, becomes, can you go at, for example, on this trip down, can they go right at Powell again, see if you can get him a second foul?
Well, they can, but I don't think Austin is skilled enough to put it on the floor and drive and create that. And he can post them up low, and in that situation, you're going to see a guy like Powell just go hands straight up. Kazemi, yes, he can put it down and drive him.
Shot fake, Emery goes under Randall.
Emery is one of those players that'll cause problems for them because he's athletic enough and skilled enough to put it on the floor and make something happen.
Well, they tried to pick and pop there with Eustace, but Oregon steals. And Singler can't get it down, spun all the way around. And with bodies from both teams down, Stanford quick up. Lloyd the push.
I like the push. I like it when they play fast because it doesn't give Stanford an opportunity to set up. But E.J. Singler, that last time down, he's got to convert the layups. Those are the easy buckets again where you have numbers.
And so now Stanford slows on this trip.
Oregon's in that aggressive man-to-man. They do a good job of taking people out. They know the players that need the pressure, the players that need to sag off of, and you better guard that guy because, again, he will take your bigs out on the perimeter where they can't guard him. If they get too tight, he's skilled enough to get by them and go dunk the basketball.
And there Powell stepped out further and hit a three. So he has 7 of Stanford's 9. Bright, Aaron Bright of Stanford here is reaching in.
Their program started at point of attack on offense, point of attack on defense, and this young man was outstanding. He gave Oregon the opportunity to spread the floor, and they were terrific offensively. Now teams can sag off of Lloyd, clog up driving lanes, and they make Oregon a perimeter shooting team, taking away all of those drives.
Zemi gets down the lane on Brown. But talking to Dana Altman today was interesting, saying, you know, it sounds, your situation sounds like what Arizona State would endure if they lost Jahi Carson.
No question
Those kind
about
of impact, right?
Yes.
And there's a three from Randall, so Stanford hitting its shots.
They are a different basketball team when Bright and Chasen Randall are knocking down jump shots because, again, it keeps the floor open. You cannot double down on Houston and Powell, and they're too good. They're averaging a double-double in their last 7 games.
Nice dish by Lloyd. Austin gets down the lane, and let's see where the foul goes here.
Well, it's on Houston, and he's got to understand Austin is not a skilled big man that can just go get your points. All you need to do is move your feet, put your hands straight up, and you make him make a basketball play.
So it is a Houston's foul, 3rd team.
And, of course, you can see how they're guarding Kazemi. They're not even guarding him. Luckily, E.J. knocks down a bucket, and when Damian Dotson gets in the game, he's going to have to score because they are not guarding Arsalan Kazemi. They're going to let him shoot the ball all he wants.
Stanford's points have come from Powell and Randall so far. Nice setup there. That's a terrific drive and kick by Bright. That's part of what's happened in February. Bright's floor game has greatly improved. His assist turnover numbers are terrific.
Well, there's no question about it. He's one of those players that prides himself on taking care of the basketball.
John Gage checks in for Stanford.
How about these two players in the last 7 ball games? Look at those numbers. You imagine having one big guy that can give you that. You've got 2, and they're great athletes. They play defense, they block shots, they score points. They put a lot of pressure on your inside play to match those numbers, and more importantly, they put a lot of pressure on your inside guys to play defense because they're constantly coming at you to attack them. Those numbers are outstanding from two of the best premier players, I would say inside players in this conference.
All right, Stanford's taking Dwight Powell out. First 2 subs in, John Gage with the ball and Roscoe Allen. Tony Woods back, Damian Dotson back for Oregon. And Kazemi, one of the league's best rebounders, clears it. Quick push, though, is thrown away. Lloyd and Dotson not connecting.
It's okay to play fast, but you have to play under control, okay? And I always have this saying, when in doubt, pull it out. So unless you know for sure if that player has the eye contact with you, that's a tough pass to play, to make right there.
And Eustace hits.
Not only did he hit, but you get a guy like Roscoe Allen that puts it on the floor and goes by Woods. You got Gage on the floor, that a premier streaky 3-point shooter, but he can go for 5 or 6 in a row. And then you got Josh Houston. That's a lot of firepower.
Well, there's Woods with a good aggressive follow. And Oregon early on here is being pressed to match because Stanford's making shots. Not a ton, but enough to put points up. And it's, Ernie, the biggest difference that Stanford has had in February.
Well, look at the mismatch inside with Gage, and this is the problem Stanford caused with 6'10", 6'10", 6'8" on the floor. They become a big basketball team that can spread you out and drive to the basket on you.
Well, Bright drove right around Singler, but didn't finish the layup.
This is what I mean about teams making you play to their size. And right now, that's a big bucket by E.J. Singler. That's a good sign for Oregon. He's knocked down 2 shots right now.
Which is 1 more than he had Thursday.
No question. But Stanford has a big basketball team on the floor, and they're making Oregon play big.
Eustace out. Got Kazemi, going to drive on him. Knocked out, and it goes off Eustace, rather. Coming up tonight, in fact, just after we're finished here in Eugene, we've got women's gymnastics on the Pac-12 networks. 2 nationally ranked teams, Stanford and Utah. Primetime showdown live on the Pac-12 networks. And there's Kazemi down for the sitting for the first time. Ben Carter in for the Ducks. The 4 starters and Carter on the floor for Oregon.
Stanford gives great weak side help. They did a nice job of what we call loading the box.
Oh, Dotson missing, but Woods follows. Dotson went backdoor on Gabe Harris. And Tony Woods able to finish.
I would say Stanford has taken care of their first part in terms of keys of the game, and they've weathered the initial burst by Oregon because this is an incredible crowd, great energy in the building, and so far they've played with pretty good poise in the game.
Knocked away there from Gabriel Harris. It'll be Stanford ball.
Howard House.
Yeah, that's a nice moment. I spent some time walking around this gorgeous arena before the game. First time I've been here this year. And I saw Ernie Kent's picture about 37 times. You're all over this place. As you should be. Ernie Kent, a great player here. And then part of some outstanding teams. The team pictures of your Elite 8 squads are up on the concourse. There's Lloyd making a basket.
That's another good sign for Oregon. So far, they're hanging with Stanford. They're knocking down shots. Defensively, I think they've been pretty good right now, forced some turnovers. So again, they just need to stay connected and stay in their offensive rhythm.
John Gage. You don't see that happen often. Shot fake. Of course, teams know Gage. They know to get out on him.
Well, they make him beat you with his weakness. His forte is shooting 3-pointers. It's not driving to the basket.
A nice position inside, and there is Powell picking up a second foul. And
Well,
Stanford upset because they're saying Powell just basically got out of the way, and he's still called.
I don't know if he got out of the way because he reached at the basketball. What you need to do is get to see how he's reaching right there. That is a foul.
Oh, okay.
What he needs to do is almost arch his back, put his hand straight back and almost backwards. Now you've got what they call principle of verticality. That's your space from floor to ceiling. And if that guy comes into your space, the foul's on him. But because he reached, as soon as you reach and that offensive player goes through your arms, that's a foul, automatic foul on the defender. Good call.
So now we'll get a measure of Johnny Dawkins and how he chooses to play this. Powell leaving the game with 2 fouls. Woods can't capitalize. Stanford down 1 as Powell leaves. Oh, Eustace, that pass. Lloyd saw it coming and just couldn't possess it. It goes out off Lloyd.
Powell leaves the game, but you still have Gage on the floor at 6'10". That's a dynamite three-point shooter. Roscoe Allen, 6'9", athletic, can put it down. He's skilled, and obviously Josh Houston sitting over there at 6'8", can shoot the threes and dunk on you. This is a big, long, athletic basketball team that can get a lot done offensively.
And Randall almost had a lapse there. He caught that ball in front court, but momentum was taking him back. Good ball movement, sets up Harris.
Woods is doing a nice job on the glass right now. He's doing an excellent job of neutralizing Stanford's front court.
Was banging down there, no calls as Carter was trying to force some contact with Eustace. Eustace held his own.
Got a mismatch, need to take him.
Harris goes in, Gabriel Harris. Senior, Birmingham, Alabama. Points from Harris going to be a real bonus for Stanford.
I love it when seniors who don't play a lot get an opportunity to get in the game and contribute, because here's a young man who's done everything right, great team player, and gets an opportunity to play and help his basketball team.
All right, Eustace with a rebound. That's his 3rd so far in the half, 2 points. Powell 7 early points, sitting with the fouls.
You can see now Oregon's doing an excellent job. They're chasing Randall. Lloyd's taking him out, not letting him have any touches.
Good job by Woods. Got a piece of the Gage shot.
Well, they know Gage is a jump shooter, so they goes right at him and play him. They don't even worry about a shot fake because he wants to shoot threes.
Harris with a steal. Looking around, doesn't have an advantage. Roscoe Allen. He runs into Singler, and they're going to call foul on E.J. Singler. All right, Singler picks up the foul. Well, tomorrow, the women take over on Pac-12 Networks for a triple header. It starts with the Battle of Arizona, Arizona State, then another one, USC and UCLA, before we wind up at Maples Pavilion with this Oregon-Stanford matchup for the women. So a triple header tomorrow on Pac-12 Networks. Good race. Stanford and Cal, the Bay Area rivals. Tyra Vanderveer is there every year, of course, and her brothers and Lindsey Gottlieb has done a wonderful job with the Cal Bears.
You bet she has. Both of those are incredible programs that represent all of women's basketball extremely well.
Zimi back in the game, cut off by Gage.
You'll see now when Arsalan catches the basketball, anything outside of that key, they will sag off of him and not guard him or give him any jump shot he wants.
Pick and roll, but Austin lost the ball as he was going up. Run that nicely with Willie Moore. Gage trying second time. It hasn't worked. Now Kazemi runs in, and we're going to have a block called on Stanford.
Well, a couple of things here. Gage cannot put the ball down and go score, so he makes a huge mistake. And then Houston reaches in, and that's why Joe Lunardi is talking about 6 potential teams being in an NCAA tournament right now. That's why it's so important for these teams to close out the conference race.
And, you know, the bubble we know is a little bit bigger than it was now with the tournament field at 68. Yet believe that for teams that are going to be on that bubble, getting the wins, getting every win they can. For Arizona State, they need to secure their home court tonight.
No question about it.
Austin got to clear the lane, does. Clock running out. Crowd helping, and Dotson delivers.
Stanford did everything right until they went for the steal and let Dotson get away for a 15-foot mid-range jump shot.
Off-ball foul on the defense against Gage.
Stanford did everything right that last possession, and then Roscoe Allen went for the steal. Damian Dotson, one of the few players in this conference that has a mid-range game. But for some reason, we've lost that in players, but puts it down, goes a couple of dribble, pulls up, knocks down a nice 15-foot jump shot.
Robbie Lemon's in for the first time, handling there for Stanford. So right now, Stanford playing without Powell, without Randall. Eustace on the floor with 2 fouls. Oregon in a zone, and Lemons, who's a shooter. That's one of the reasons Lemons will play for Stanford.
Oregon is one of the few teams in the country that plays multiple defenses. Washington State's the other team in this conference, but they will full court press you, 3/4 court press you, soft, hard. They'll 2-3 zone, 3-2 zone. They'll give you a lot of different looks, which is why their defense is so good. And understanding again, this is the team that held Colorado to 48 points and Cal to 48 points, but lost both games because their offense was so stagnant.
Drive here as Emery put it down and gets the foul on Andy Brown. Now, Dwight Powell just came back in the game for Stanford. Now, he was out of the game for 4 minutes and 4 seconds. And in that time, there were a total of 4 points scored, 2 by each team.
Again, you're looking at a game that's it's a bogged down game offensively. And you see a lot of that in the conference and a lot of it in the country.
Kazemi gets first points. Now Kazemi trying to front Eustace, slides over on the baseline.
Lloyd is just harassing Bright all over the floor, and he's making Stanford's bigs handle the ball. So in essence, what he's done is he's taken the point guard play completely out and he's making the bigs handle the basketball.
All right, State Farm halftime report coming up. Mr. T joining Mike Am in the studio with all the scores and highlights around the top 25 today, the latest around the Pac-12. It was a momentous day in college basketball today. 2 of the nation's longest home court winning streaks fell this afternoon. Syracuse, the longest. Colorado State, I think, was 3rd.
Yes.
Both lost at home today.
And even number 2 got beat in Miami, lost to Wake Forest today as well.
Ooh, Kazemi gets that down. So a couple of baskets, and now Oregon out to a 5-point lead, which is their largest of the half.
Well, they're doing it with some outstanding man-to-man defense.
And there's Powell putting it down, going right at Woods. We made a great call, Ernie, on that. That Dotson has that shot right there, that little pull-up, high arc, floater, 12 feet or so.
Well, him and E.J. Singler were 5 for 24 the other night against Cal. Dotson, Singler have got to score for Oregon to have an opportunity to win. And again, you see a very skilled Dwight Powell going to the hole, but Dotson comes off of a screen. He curls right into the middle of the lane. He's got that excellent mid-range floater. That's an NBA mid-range floater, by the way. That's what they shoot at that level. Nice job of scoring. Singler back into the ball game right now. The 2 of them have got to have point production for Oregon to have an opportunity to be successful as they close out conference play. Jonathan Lloyd has been outstanding, keeping the ball out of Aaron Bright's hand, just harassing him all over the floor. And then Damian Dotson has done the same thing to Chase and Randall, and they forced Stanford's bigs to almost be point guards. Catch the ball at the top of the key, put it on the floor, make basketball plays. And again, Dwight Powell, Josh Huestis both have the ability to do that.
Yeah, Powell just did it for a three-point play. That's coming back. That ball will come back to Stanford. Turnover created. Powell has 12 points, and he just, on that previous play, also got the second foul on Tony Woods.
He's very, very active. You know, when you can shoot the three-point shot like him and Huestis and shoot it, now all of a sudden you got big guys clamping up on him, and now they can put it on the floor and go by you because they're skilled. What I mean by skilled, they're big guys that dribble the ball like guards at 6'10", 6'11". That's hard to defend.
Andy Brown draws the foul, and he'll get to the line. That'll be after a break. Fouls on Emory of Oregon. We'll come back and take a close look at those.
In the Pac-12 tournament and win 4 games in 4 days.
What does it tell you about Johnny Dawkins when you see both of them on the court right now with 2 fouls in these final 4 minutes?
That he has a lot of confidence in his players and that he also wants to win this basketball game. So I don't mind that. You know, you can have 2 players on the floor. They just got to understand when to put their hands up. Their fouls have been really ticky-tack fouls where they're inside reaching, overextending. They just play big and make these players, these Oregon bigs, finish over the top of you. With the exception of Kazemi inside, Woods, Austin, they have a hard time finishing over size. Kazemi is the one player that can do it, and you need to be careful because he will go at your body and draw that 3rd foul.
Another turnover. That's the 6th of the half by Oregon.
Not only is it a turnover, it's an unforced turnover, the kind that drives coaches crazy when you just dribble it off your leg.
Oh, there's Huestis soaring in.
Did I tell you how much this young man likes to dunk the basketball? I mean, not only does he go rebound it, he goes and gets it over the top. He finishes up there where the Eagles fly.
Nice spin in the lane by Dotson. And there's Huestis, who was playing up top, but he gets back down to rebound.
I'm telling you again, he doesn't realize how good he's going to be. That is such a hard play he made.
Great Falls, Montana. Josh Huestis was fairly lightly recruited. Powell missing. Montana State, talked to him early in the conference, said that was really the first school that kind of came at him.
Well, E.J. Singler has to guard him, and he's better get a body on him.
Line hits. And that brings a different sort of roar. They understand here how valuable it'll be for the Ducks if Jonathan Lloyd can make a shot.
Well, it keeps the floor spread and allows E.J. Singler to drive, Kazemi to drive, Dotson to drive.
And there's a steal because then he got in the passing lane. But then, we've got a break. Out of control, but Randall takes the ball out.
Understand when you're a rebounding big, your scouting report says you get a body on these guys because otherwise he's going up over the top. E.J., he's down there with the Crows, okay? Josh Huestis goes up there with the Eagles slide. So E.J. has got to get a body on him out front. He doesn't have the athleticism to rebound and sky like a Josh Huestis.
Tough baseline. Emory's shot pulled out. But what Stanford is doing right now, coming up on a minute and a half, they're staying in the game and they're on the verge of getting through this half with Powell and Huestis not digging themselves into a deeper foul hole. As we were saying,
I don't know about that. That's a tough call there because that's just a rip and go.
All right, Mike Yam and Tommy T are standing by with State Farm halftime report. That'll be coming up here in a minute and 26. Well, just as I was saying that, Powell gets called for his 3rd. And
well, he shouldn't have gotten called because that was a reach-in. There was an awful lot of contact on the reach-in, and I didn't know if the official had a great angle to make the call that he made in that situation. And that was a tough one for Powell.
Lloyd, nice dish. That's well done by Jonathan Lloyd. Dotson, little bump.
When you talk about bigs with the ability to put it on the floor, you see the hand contact there. There was a foul. There was a no call. That was a tough call right there because I'll tell you something. He doesn't want to. He knows that's not a foul there. And unfortunately, he's got 3 fouls. He's got to go to the bench. But he drew the foul first before the foul was called on him. It was just missed.
Yeah, I think Powell knew there was a little bit of a little sales job there on the Pizzeni hitting the deck. Now it's Randall at the line for Stanford, 1-1.
Well, Randall picks up the foul on Dominic Dotson because you cannot, Damian Dotson, I'm sorry, because anytime you're on the perimeter, an offensive player rips through, you've got his hands on him, just like you called Kazemi also, that's an automatic foul.
So Oregon up. Quick shot could get him an extra possession. Not going to happen. Ooh. And Aaron Bright body blocks Lloyd. Jonathan Lloyd will get to the foul line.
No need to close out hard on Jonathan Lloyd. That time Aaron Bright, he bit on the fake. Jonathan Lloyd did a nice job of selling it, but you just need to close out with space on Lloyd. He will only shoot that basketball when he is wide open.
Jonathan Lloyd, a junior from Las Vegas, basketball family. His older brother Michael played at BYU, played with Jimmer Fredette.
I think he's done a nice job of holding down the position because here's a player that came off the bench and did a great job, and now all of a sudden he's asked to step into the lead role in that. He's had 3 scoreless games, but understand it's more than just scoring. You've got to be a pest on defense. He's done that. You've got to quarterback your team. He's done that as well, too. So for him to make the adjustments he's had to make, he's done a pretty good job of it.
Stanford will use
this year in the Pac-12. In the 7 wins, 53%. 7 losses, around 31%. Obviously, that's field goal percentage. When they shoot the ball, they're an excellent basketball team.
Yeah, that's when you can shoot threes at 53%. That's an extraordinary clip.
They want to pick and pop with Gage here. They're trying to force the switch. They're bringing up a 3-point shooter in Gage, hoping to force a double team and find them with the 3.
Stanford running the 1-4. Al Gage out. Bright's going to have to go.
Got him.
Sets up Gage. With the ball to the deck, and that'll deny Oregon. Oregon didn't get to that rebound quickly enough, and they do not get a last shot. So the first half finishes in Eugene.
Get Bright, take Bright out of the game, and Randall. They did a good job of really getting after those two, and they're making the bigs have to be guards and handle all the plays, make all the basketball plays.
All right, second half, Oregon trying to stay tied with Arizona. Stanford trying to do something they haven't done in 3 years, and that's sweep on the road. The last Stanford road sweep was here, wow. Eugene Corvallis in the 09-10 season. Cal just did it. Cal pulled it off today.
Congratulations to Cal. I mean, how well are they playing? 7 out of the last 8. Hottest team in the conference, one of the hottest teams in the West, and certainly into that deep conversation now about NCAA tournament play.
Long pass, Dotson saw it, and then Powell, and you talk about, well, let me ask you, how risky a play is that?
It's only a risky play if you don't make the play. He did a nice job of running it down. You talk about a big guy with speed. Now, look at this play. This is a for sure dunk. He comes out of nowhere and makes a play and stops a sure 2 points. Great play.
And again, referencing Powell reaching in on the ball there with 3, but he got it clean. Woods, nice putback. That's the 3rd putback basket by Tony Woods.
Let me tell you how impressive that was. He grabbed it with two, switched it to the left, and scored it with the left, all in midair. That's pretty good for a guy that's 6'11". You know what that tells me? He's a good dancer because he's got rhythm.
Zemi out quick on Randall. A little two-man game. Randall finds Eustace, and Eustace gets the line.
I want to get back to Cal for a moment, because you're at a point in time in the year where that selection committee is watching a lot of basketball, and they're watching those 20 to 30 teams that are in those bubble spots. I mean, you talk about last four in, first four out, the next one. That's the teams, and Cal is one of those teams. Arizona State's one. Stanford is one. So for Cal to do what they did today, 7 out of 8 games now, to come on the road, beat a ranked team in Oregon, go over and beat an Oregon State on senior day, that's huge. That's a great plus for them and a great plus for the conference as well.
Eustace makes both fouls on Singler, his second. Before the game started, Ernie Kent you spoke about focus. Is there any team that could be a better example of that than Cal? When the week started for them with the Mike Montgomery affair, than to come on the road and win both? Woods went up again and will wind up at the line.
Well, not only wind up at the line, but unfortunately, they get a foul called on Powell.
It's Powell's fourth, and I think Stanford may be trying to claim that wasn't Powell. Brown saying it was me, and the bench is saying it was Brown.
Well, the replay is going to tell us exactly who it was, so you did a pretty good job of E.J. Singer trying to go up and over the top, and then Woods, and it's certainly is Powell who commits the foul on Woods. As much flack as officials take, when you go back and look at tape as a coach at night, generally speaking, they're in the right. They do a pretty good job in the heat of a battle, and you've got 3 great ones in this ball game.
A real blow now for Stanford as Powell has to leave with over 18 minutes to play. A 5-point difference. We'll see how that stands when Powell finally does return. It's the kind of game now where Randall may try to say, I need to pick up some slack.
Well, he's got to be careful, because that was a bad shot and ends up with a play at the other end, because typically...
You saying bad because it was quick, Ernie?
Well, when you do something bad at one end, it usually leads to something bad at the other end. So that tough shot left them in a bad defensive rotation down here.
Nice, Andy Brown. That was briefly Oregon's biggest lead of the game. Brown's first basket. Johnson missing, and there's Eustace. So now the Stanford, and you figure it's going to be Eustace, it's going to be Randall, but are going to have to pick up some of the slack with Powell sitting. Foul here on Lloyd of the Ducks.
Well, it's going to have to be Gage, too, who can shoot the basketball. Andy Brown, who's a player that can make some things happen. Bright is going to have a tough time because Jonathan Lloyd has too much quickness in the game for him, and he's really doing a good job of taking him out of his game right now.
Carlos Emery will replace Dotson for Oregon. Again, an Oregon win would be their 11th in the conference. They would stay tied with Arizona for the regular season title with 3 games to play.
Arizona beat Washington State, had them down big in the game. Washington State tried to make a run, and Arizona closed out the game.
Singler almost picked, and then Kazemi blocks. Beautiful. Oregon gets another try as Woods tracks down the long rebound. Singler again. Ooh, step to his left and give it off. But Kazemi can't finish, and he's screaming for a foul.
Tough shot. You know, again, when you got Gage being guarded by Woods, he needs to put it down and drive at him. You have an opportunity to attack Oregon's bigs when they're guarding out on the perimeter. You need to take advantage of that.
Woods in. So Tony Woods is giving Oregon a nice offensive lift. 9 points now for Woods.
Well, I'm sure they took it personal the way the Stanford bigs dominated them down on the farm in Palo Alto. Josh Houston's comes back with the big 3.
9 for Eustace. Lloyd, and Lloyd going right by Bright.
Bright has a hard time with any quickness at the point guard spot.
Bright trying to score himself. Now the game opening up. And then Bright again hurdles himself at Emery just to stop a little transition.
With Dwight Powell in foul trouble now, it's very important that somebody else steps outscoring Stanford 22-10 in the paint right now.
That's dramatic. And that's not
certainly
something you would have expected given the way Powell and Houston have been playing.
Certainly dramatic from the first time these two teams played.
Singler driving.
Make that 24-10.
So Singler with 6. Interestingly, the leading scorers right now for Oregon are Tony Woods and Jonathan Lloyd. Who'd have thought that? Block. Gage back. Now it's Bright going right at Lloyd. And Lloyd got his hand in to pick him. And then Kazemi is fouled. How about that by Jonathan Lloyd?
Well,
that
what it is
a pure pickpocket.
Well, not only that, but it's a 4-point swing in the game. 2 that Aaron Bright doesn't get at the other end by free throws or layup. And 2, possibly they're going to give Kazemi at this end. It ends up being a big swing in the game. But this is outstanding instincts. Just takes the ball away. Could have been a foul there on Aaron Bright. And then a heads-up play where he kicks ahead. E.J. Singler makes a nice touch pass to Kazemi, who gets to the foul line. You can see now where it's so important to close out games and close out the conference race. If Oregon wins the conference championship or Arizona, both of those teams will have earned it for sure because the conference is so good. And both of them will be well conditioned to head into conference tournament play and hopefully NCAA tournament play. They will be battle tested in this conference because it's so competitive.
Right now, the game's biggest lead. Waverly Austin fell, so Roscoe Allen took advantage. And Eustace to the line. And that's the 3rd on E.J. Singler. And I still think we're going to have somebody, may not go all the way as Colorado did a year ago, but somebody's going to run a little bit in Vegas. The conference has been so unpredictable this year.
And the Oregon lineup, Singler.
Eustace makes 1 out of 2. For his 10th point. Christian Sanders, freshman, makes his first appearance.
Wow. That's what you call a deep bench.
And Kazemi. Well, he's got 11 points.
He scores, and they're standing off of him 10 feet, and he still drives to the bucket and gets a score.
Randall with a drive, and Randall offensive foul. And now this get to a moment in the game here where it's starting to swing Oregon's way.
You see they're not guarding Kazemi for the jump shot, and he still puts it on the floor and offsets, but he can control the game in so many ways, defensively with steals, rebounding, scores. He's a player that does not shoot a jump shot at all, but he controls and can dictate the outcome of a game because he does so many other things. Steals, block shots, obviously rebounds, loose balls, take charges, and draw fouls. He's a very unusual player that gets a lot done in the course of a ball game.
Emery driving, and that's a block on Stanford. They put Emery to the line just to finish on Kazemi. And you notice that, you look at the stats, he's one of those guys who he shows up in a lot of different categories. He's third in the league in field goal percentage, second in steals, third in defensive rebounding, third in total rebounding.
He's one of those players that you talk about being the defensive player of the year because he does so much, so he's certainly in the running for it also. And you look at this Oregon team, and they may not have a player on it that's going to be in the running for player of the year, but between them and Arizona, they definitely are going to have the team of the year because one or two of those teams are going to be your conference champions. In fact, you look at the floor right now, and Oregon's got a lot of quickness on the floor, and Stanford still has a lot of size. They actually went down in size because Oregon's quickness was starting to bother them. So they took one of the bigs off the floor and put Gabriel Harris back into the game.
So Gabriel Harris is senior, Christian Sanders, Jason Randall, three guards with John Gage and Josh Eustace for Stanford. Oregon with Carlos Emery, Jonathan Lloyd, Ben Carter, Damian Dotson, Waverly Austin.
Lloyd is just a pest on the floor. That time,
yes.
He let Jason Randall go through the lane, and he stayed in a helping position on Josh Eustace and completely disrupted his move. And again, with his size, if you're a player that's small on the floor, you need to be a pest. You need to be in everybody's way. You need to have yourself bumping the point guard, and he's disrupting the game even though he's the smallest player on the floor. Reminds me of Mike Drummond that used to play for Oregon way back in the Dick Harder days.
Rolling shot by Austin. And Eustace clears it. So Eustace probably going to get his double-double. He's got 10 points, 9 boards right now. Step back by Gage.
Oregon's got Stanford's rhythm all out of sorts right now. No ball movement, no player movement. They're doing a lot of catch and shoot, and that's where you want a team like Stanford. They're better when they get in the rhythm and run their sets and have more ball movement, player movement. And on the other end, they're just flat out driving. They're just out quicking. Again, they spread the floor.
That's what the second half has been, right? Yeah. They're putting the ball down.
They spread the floor using their quickness to beat them again.
5th team foul now on, or excuse me, 6th team foul on Stanford in this half.
Yep.
Stanford's only scored 8 points in 7.5 minutes.
Got Dwight Powell back in the game with those 4 fouls with a lot of time on the clock, but Johnny Dawkins has got to get him back in. They've got to try to stay connected to Oregon because Oregon's starting to blow this game out a little bit. If they can get a couple more scores and hold Stanford scoreless, it's going to really give them a lot of confidence and free them up offensively to play.
Emery driving in left, and there's Carter flipping. Austin blocked, held ball. Eustace
got a jump blocked. Ball goes back to Oregon. You see Eustace comes over the top and just kind of ties up the ball at the
off the inbounds Emery. Well, Sanders batted the ball away. Oregon had a couple of more chances and doesn't convert.
Well, right now, they're out hustling Stanford. They're beating them to all the 50-50 balls, and they're doing a much better job of just attacking the basket. And again, you remember down there, it seems like to me, these big guys have answered the challenge. Because when these two teams played down in Palo Alto, Stanford was by far the more dominant team. Jonathan Lloyd has too much quickness right now on the floor.
Stanford really looking at Eustace for points right now, but not many in this half. Eustace has 6 of the 8 the Cardinals scored.
Well, they've got to find a way to get Chase and Randall some shots and not just have Eustace shooting the ball all over the place. And again, hats off to Oregon because they've taken him completely out of the game. Look at it again, just dominating the boards on Stanford.
Sanders able to save that one. And then Sanders creates action, just driving toward the glass. Sanders will be at the line when we come back. And a very good Oregon defensive performance.
Hurry with that ball being put on the floor right now.
That's, I guess, the question here is how does Powell play the game? It's still 11 minutes to go.
Well, you've got to play it like you're not in foul trouble, because if you start worrying about it, that's where you're going to get in trouble. And for him, he's got to go smart on defense, hands straight up, and he loves to drive on the offense. He's got to go into control, because I'll tell you what, Kasimi is a smart basketball player, and he knows he has 4 fouls. It'll be Kasimi stepping up to take the charge on him if he goes out of control.
Christian Sanders from Houston hits both foul shots. 13-6 was the Oregon run while Powell was out of the game. He was out for about 5.5 minutes. And there, see, Powell just couldn't even defend as Woods went right at him.
Well, they came out of the timeout. Dana Altman with the set play to go at him. That was a clear out, dump inside to Woods and let him go one-on-one, and that time he just missed the shot, but Powell had no defense for him.
I'll tell you, there's another Jonathan Lloyd. Jonathan Lloyd is having some game, and you hit it, Ernie. He's disrupting any of Stanford's guards.
Well, he's too quick for their guard. Sanders, a freshman, he's over his head right now in this ball game. Chasing Randall, he can't do much with him. And Aaron Bright, he just had him bottled up all in the first half. He's controlling the whole game at the defensive end of the floor.
Aaron Bright's ready to come back in, but Jonathan Lloyd having some night.
Well, he's having some night because he's too quick for Stanford right now, and his hands are outstanding. He gets the steal. Look at him get back up, get into the play, and then he goes right at Houston with the play. That's a big-time finish right there, protecting the ball, and Johnny Dawkins doesn't like all of that, and he just gets a T in the game. Technical foul. Not the technical foul you want right now, but he needs to do something to get his team's energy up and get them moving again. Oregon's by far the aggressor in this game.
2 foul shots on the technical for Singler, the Oregon choice. I just can't help but when you see a Jonathan Lloyd, and you know how much scrutiny he's been under lately, you know it as well as anybody, Ernie. To see him come out here tonight. Now he had a 24-point game in his career.
Hold it.
This year, the most points in a game 11.
Who was putting the scrutiny on him? The armchair quarterbacks or the people on the internet? You can't even worry about that. For that young man to be on this floor in the heat of the battle in front of, 12,000 people right now, he's already a success. I think he's done an outstanding job. You can't even worry about what people talk about. He didn't do this, he can't do that. I think he's been fantastic, and he's telling you again, yes, he doesn't shoot the ball great, but he has been the guy that has set the tone defensively. He has disrupted the Stanford team by himself. Pressure on Bright, pressure on Randall, disrupting Houston's down underneath, double teaming the ball, stealing the ball, getting on the floor. He's done everything in this game to give Oregon the advantage with the intensity.
So 3 foul shots by Singler. He made 1 on the technical, and then both ends of a 1-and-1 on the personal foul.
What has happened in this game is Oregon has become the aggressor. And they're playing on a mission mentally. They're tougher right now. They're playing harder. They have more energy. They're attacking more. And they're a team, you can see they're a team that wants to get this win to stay connected to Arizona in terms of this conference championship. Arizona got it done earlier today, beating Washington State. Cal beats Oregon State. 2 teams that are playing exceptionally well. Very important for Oregon to win this game to stay at the top of the conference with Arizona.
Bright on the drive draws the foul. So Bright will get to the line, and that's going to be the 4th on Singler.
Aaron Bright was the player in the game against Oregon State that stepped up and hit some big threes, big buckets. Him and Chase and Randall have got to get more done in this game. You cannot continue to put the pressure on Powell and Houston to dribble the ball, make basketball plays, especially Powell with 4 fouls.
Aaron Bright hasn't scored again tonight, but the last 6 games, that's how well his floor game has been. I mean, that's a 3.5 to 1 ratio, and he's second in the conference in that category to Larry Drew.
Well, his points have been an added plus for this team, but they're going to need more points out of him. One of those 2 players, Bright and Randall, have got to start hitting buckets so they can open up the floor again.
there, Bright harassing Moore into a turnover.
They've got numbers. They've got to go score. You cannot set up here.
Eustace trying to take it in.
But there it is again. You got the bigs trying to make the plays. Oh, that's a nice off-balance shot there.
And Emery knocks it down. And Oregon has just blown this open here with over 9 to play.
Got away with a walk there.
Powell stepping inside as Woods flew by.
Says Coach Kent, I have a mid-range game also. Shot fake Woods, sent him into the cheap seats and knocked down the shot.
Those are Powell's first points in the second half. He has 14 total. But his night hampered. 3 apps beyond repair by fouls. Now it's Emery inside.
Big mismatch on the floor. Carlos Emery being defended by Randall or Lemons. They cannot guard him. He is too athletic down there, too strong, too big. Just a warrior, too, with the energy he comes at you.
And so Emery now extending the Oregon lead, 17. Singler coming out. 3 fouls on Singler, and Dotson is returned. The Oregon's defense, I mean, it just smothered Randall there. And then at the other end, Guzemi will go to the line.
I think the difference in this game has been Oregon's defense, but not only that, you can see how that defense has turned to offense, and they've been in so much more attack mode. There hasn't been a lot of setting up in this game because their defense is forcing Stanford into bad situations, bad shots, bad turnovers, and then they're off to the races, and they are taking advantage when they have numbers of making plays. And you got Carlos Emery making that play, and he's again our Motel 6 player, 6th man of the game. He gets that honor once again. Great game, great floor game, and great energy off the bench.
That's another luxury for Oregon to have a guy that gets 10 points a game coming off the bench. Bright delivered that ball down low, went through Randall's hands.
Pressure has really bothered Stanford.
And Johnny Dawkins sees things are just unraveling, and he's going to take a timeout here.
Well, they're unraveling because they can
spots that get that by.
You bet they are. They're playing exceptional basketball. And somebody in that group that's played all year long well, Arizona, Oregon, UCLA, Arizona State, now Cal, is not going to make it in there.
That's important. So you don't have to play 4, although Colorado pulled it off last year.
Well, it's important, but I also think it might be an advantage. Somebody's going to get an opportunity to upset someone.
Offensive rebound, and Emery as Oregon just continues to pile on here. The second half at Stanford has only scored 13 points.
Well, Randall had 7 points in the first half, 0 in the second half. Bright's only had 1 point in the first and 1 in the second. They have completely dominated Stanford's guards, and that's been the difference in the game. They've taken them completely out. It's put a lot of pressure on Eustace and Gage. Powell inside to make basketball plays. And when you don't have guard games, even USC of winning 4 games in 4 days to win this thing like Colorado did last year.
That's my don't sleep on team going.
Don't you do that.
Don't sleep on USC.
Well, the reality
of it is 4 in a row, but
if you get that first win, it may give you the advantage over those teams on the right side of that column, because you can get a win like Colorado did last year and get rolling. By the time you hit that team in that second round, you better be ready to play. If you're Arizona, Oregon, Cal that was sitting on that right side, you better be ready to go if you run up against a hot Oregon State, a hot Stanford, a confident Arizona State, or a confident Colorado. It could be a bad thing to be with the bye in that situation.
Oregon breaks pressure and can't finish. Woods inside, and they'll pull it out. Also, I'm sure Arizona State fans are watching right now. We should say that what we showed you is if the tournament started right now at 6:50 Pacific time, because Arizona State, if they win tonight at home, they'll be tied with Cal.
Well, Arizona State and Colorado have an opportunity still to be in that on the side of getting a bye. So there's a lot of basketball to play for in this conference as Carlos Emory gets another bucket. But let's point out in this game, Oregon has dominated this game because of their defense. They have Lloyd has done a tremendous job of pressuring the ball, and obviously him and Emory coming off the bench, they've done a good job of just controlling the game and playing very, very well. But I like their defense. Chase and Randall, Aaron Bright are combined 2 for 9 as a team. Stanford 3 for 13, 22%. You are not going to beat teams with those kind of stats. Hats off to Oregon's defense and Jonathan Lloyd at point of attack for setting the tone for this entire game.
Aaron Bright's points have all come from the foul line. 4 out of 6. Jonathan Lloyd has barely been out of the game tonight, in fact. 11 points, 5 assists, 3 steals, and just 1 turnover.
Aaron Bright's going to wake up tonight and have a nightmare because he's going to think Jonathan Lloyd's lying next to him because he's been in his shirt. He has not allowed him to do anything on the offensive end of the floor.
Late clock, Dotson going in. That's going to be out of bounds and go back into Stanford.
They need to run late clock and go at Woods. Do that clear out and go right back inside the Woods and let Powell have to guard him because 2 things. Powell is just going to let him go score or he's going to have to pick up that 5th foul.
All the volleyball tipping and Oregon back with the ball as we get close to 6 to play. Lloyd going in, and that gives Lloyd his highest scoring game of this season, 13.
And not only that, Kazemi forces the travel. So for all those critics out there, get off of Jonathan Lloyd because his quickness, his stamina, his ability, his toughness to take this Oregon team and take the responsibility of running this team at the point guard spot has allowed them to stay connected to Arizona for the conference race. So again, he's done his job. He's come off the bench. He's made the adjustments to lead this basketball team.
Oregon was riddled with turnovers when these teams played at Naples. Tonight it's Stanford 17 now.
Well, the difference in the game, they've not had a lot of times where they've had to set up and run offense like they're doing right now. They're running clock to shorten down the game. But they've been great and they've been attacking.
Nice dish. And Lloyd gets another assist. This is the kind of game I would wonder, Ernie, how much this is going to do for Jonathan Lloyd's confidence as Randall drains the 3.
Well,
would have an overall game like this?
Well, how much is going to do for Oregon's confidence, who struggled against Cal? Stanford blew them out in Palo Alto. They're blowing Stanford out up here in Eugene. It tells you again how far they've come. They got Stanford the first time when Jonathan Lloyd just took over the position. Oregon went on a 3-game.
Thursday night.
Well, they've got a near or a sellout crowd today, it looks like. This crowd has been fantastic. If they can get this crowd back here against Oregon State, which they should in a big Civil War rival game, they can close out this building and close out this season the right way. And obviously get an opportunity to say goodbye to a fantastic group of seniors led by E.J. Singler. State Player of the Year coming out of high school. Has done everything right on the floor, off the floor. More points than any other dunk. More victories than any other dunk. And Josh was impressed about. We recruited him because we needed a skilled 4-man, somebody that could put it on the floor, dribble it, pass, dribble, shoot the ball, somebody that had tremendous feel for the game, that was going to be accountable to free throw shooting, was going to be a leader because he was going to do the things off the floor that could give him an opportunity to be vocal on the floor, and players would follow him. He's been all of that and then some. He's had a fabulous career. He's done everything we needed for him to do as a player when we had him here and then some.
And Lloyd again just sprinting up the floor and setting up Emory. And a foul now on Lloyd at the other end.
This is a complete dismantling right now by Oregon Lloyd, his quickness is just taking over the floor. Their speed, their quickness, their athleticism, and their mental toughness to get this done here has been really impressive. And this is a good Stanford team. They will rebound. They'll come back. They're going to still close out their season and have an opportunity to be one of those teams that can win 4 games in that conference tournament. This is big for Johnny's team because they had an opportunity to beat a ranked team on their home floor, sweep the weekend, something they haven't done in 3 years, sweep up here in the Northwest. Had a great window of opportunity. They'll get another, though. I think they still got Colorado there. They'll get another window of opportunity.
Yeah, they'll be heading home, Stanford. They'll have Colorado. And then Utah. A little slide on the floor there by Kazemi in a travel call. And the Colorado game will be huge because that will be what this now has become a lost opportunity for Stanford to get a credibility win.
Well, they're trying to press now with Gage and Houston and Powell. That kind of size on the floor. It's hard to press. You don't have a lot of quickness, and what Oregon needs to do is just speed right through it, stay in attack mode for about another 3 minutes in the game because they're going to give them scoring opportunities, and Lloyd said, I will take them.
And Lloyd does. By the time he faked the pass, faked the dish, and kept it.
Hard to press that kind of quickness when you're that big, so Oregon needs to continue to attack. That's the difference in their team this game is they've been the aggressor. They've not set up a lot on offense. They have attacked on offense. And it's been the Jonathan Lloyd show. He's been the guy that has Oregon State still here at home to close out the year and senior last game, and then Colorado and Utah on the road. And those are going to be tough games now. Anything can happen in a Civil War, so they need this crowd to come back. And, of course, Colorado, that's a great home court advantage. They're going to be sitting there waiting to be the ranked team that helps their resume. And then you got Utah, tough team at home, and that's the second team on a road trip in that altitude. It's going to be tough. If Oregon wins this conference championship, they definitely will have earned it.
That Oregon-Colorado game shapes up to be one of the better ones in the last 2 weeks of the season in the conference. That'll be on March 7th, Thursday night. Held ball here, and that'll stay with Oregon.
Johnny Dawkins empties his bench.
Yep. 5 out, 5 in. And the starters all go for Stanford. Reserves on, including Stefan Nastich and Grant Verhoeven, who will both appear for the first time. Lost it going up. That's a foul on Oregon.
Stanford has another window of opportunity coming up. They missed this one against Oregon in the sweep here, but they have an excellent chance against Colorado, Utah, and California. Colorado, California, 2 teams on there that gives them a chance to get back into the conversation. This is going to be huge. They've now lost 3 out of their last 4 games, losing those 2 at home and then losing today. They've got to do a better job of closing out, and obviously they've got an opportunity, or I should say windows of opportunity, with Colorado and California still on their schedule.
So Harris makes 1 foul shot. We're now under 3 to play. So we'll be heading to the final 2 weeks of the regular season as Lloyd comes right into us. Lloyd went right into Ernie's magic machine.
Hey, there was no whistle, so we kept announcing, we kept playing.
And Emery's fouled by Nastich. All right, we're in the final 2.5 minutes are coming up. We'll be sending you to women's gymnastics, Stanford and Utah right here on the Pac-12 networks. One of Stanford's standout gymnasts, Ashley Morgan, who is the lady friend of Dwight Powell. So there's an all-athlete pairing.
That was a very delicate way that you just put that, but I understand what you're trying to say.
Yeah. My old partner and friend Joe Morgan, Hall of Famer, is Ashley's dad. They had Dwight Powell for Christmas dinner.
I will guarantee
that Joe did not cook.
Hey, I will guarantee you Dwight Powell was on his best behavior, too. You don't mess with Joe. Jonathan Lloyd continues to attack this pressure, and that's exactly what you want to do. Keep the pressure on Stanford. They're going to press you at one end with numbers. You make them pay at the other end with numbers.
Kazemi trying to set it up inside.
Well, they did everything right until the bounce pass. He looked good, finished bad.
Roscoe Allen picked it for Stanford in the final 2 minutes. And there's Ben Carter, hammers Christian Sanders. Foul on Oregon's Carter.
It gives him an opportunity to come over and talk to Coach Altman, too, about the weather in Eugene. Says, Coach, it rains a little bit too much here. We're going to be all right. Coach says, we'll get an umbrella. If you don't play better defense, I'm going to cover you on the bench sitting over here. So you don't want to commit a foul in this situation. Just put hands straight up. You do not want to stop the clock. Get out of here and get out of the arena right now.
I'm interested, Ernie, because the waning moments of this game now, as Sanders shoots, the player who's played the most minutes in the game for Oregon is Jonathan Lloyd.
No question. He has to play the most minutes because they have no point guard. They have more to give them a little bit of help. But Jonathan Lloyd, that's what I'm saying again. When you mentioned earlier, he's been under all this criticism. There's no criticism. He has to play major minutes at point of attack. He's right up front on defense. He's right out front on offense. I don't know how many people put that pressure on themselves to be out there that exposed, and he's done a tremendous job, in my opinion. Has he been perfect? No. Has he settled his team? Yes. And that's why they're still in contention. No question.
And Lloyd staying on the floor. Is Emery. Emery's having a big point half, 17 points or 19 points rather for Emery now.
Well, he's got 19 points, but Jonathan Lloyd is giving him about 8 of those points on being able to break down defenses, and I love again the way they continue to attack the press.
Stanford. These reserves, you can see they're hungry. They want to play, and Roscoe Allen hits. Jonathan Lloyd has a career high tonight. That's going to be an offensive foul on Carter of Oregon. And this play here gives Lloyd a career-high 9th assist.
Well, not only 9th assist, but it's a spectacular one as Emery goes up and over the top. They've got a couple of plays in this game now. They're going to be up for our plays, outstanding plays of the week on the show. And I just love the way that they continue to attack. They're at their best when they are aggressive offensively and keep the pressure on defenses.
What a game for Jonathan Lloyd, 15 points, which is his season high in points, but more importantly, that ball is down. We've got a foul here at 40 seconds. The 9 assists, the 4 game, a career high assist game, only 1 turnover, 3 steals.
Very, very impressive play from a point guard that has taken some heat. It's just let it roll off his back. He's gotten a little bit better, been up and down a little bit, but here he is now starting to play his best basketball at the right time with 3 big games to go before you head off to the Pac-12 tournament. And he has an opportunity to get this Oregon team a Pac-12 championship if they can close it out the right way.
And Ernie, that was a big thing Dana Altman was emphasizing to his team today, is they control their destiny.
Yes.
They beat Arizona. They beat UCLA. Only games, they only have 1 game with each of those schools this year, but that gives them tiebreakers. So take care of your business, which is a common theme in sport, but it applies here at Oregon. Take care of your own business.
Well, you want to be in this situation coming down the stretch where your destiny is in your hands and not the hands you're waiting for somebody else to lose. And they have that situation right now that as long as they do their job, they control their destiny.
That was close to being a 10th assist for Lloyd. That's pretty funny. That was a desperation play that darn near worked. So Oregon has the layup by Harris. secures the final score. The Oregon Ducks will stay tied with Arizona, top the conference.
Well, and